Apple is definitely last to the party when it comes to smart home digital assistants. But now that the HomePod is here, Apple fans are rejoicing. But one of the downsides of coming in last is that there's plenty of competition that's owned the market to compare the new kid to. I'm Erin from TechGadgetsCanada.com, and Apple's smart speaker with Siri built in is designed to play wireless music mainly via Apple's Music app and to automate many at-home tasks using voice control. When it comes to the music and speaker aspect, HomePod is a standout. The audio quality and the looks will blow you away. But how does it hold up to doing other tasks? I had a chance to test out a HomePod in my home for a few weeks, and here's what I found. When it comes to looks, Apple HomePod is sexy as all hell. The sleek looks and the soft cylinder shape is minimalist and attractive. It's much softer looking with more rounded edges than Amazon's Echo line and compares somewhat to Google's Home device. HomePod is shorter and more squat than Echo, but it's wrapped in a full fabric wrap, unlike Google Home, which gets just half a wrap. Apple's HomePod is all about the speaker. Unlike Google Home, where the speaker is set in the bottom part of the base, the sound here is designed to emanate from 360 degrees all the way from bottom to top, and it can fill your room. I can definitely say it does that. I think it's also important to mention before we get too much further that the HomePod is only compatible with Apple devices, and right now that means the iPhone, iPad, and iPod. No laptops and definitely no Android devices, so beware of the limitations before you go out and get yourself one. Getting the HomePod set up is a treat. Really. You just plug it in and basically it'll set itself up. You'll get a pop-up on your screen asking you to pair it to your phone, and in my case it was the Apple iPhone X. In a second it was ready to go. Now, since I already live in the Apple ecosystem largely, this was definitely the easiest smart home speaker / digital assistant I've set up. Apple makes a lot out of the build quality and the acoustic capabilities of the HomePod, talking about the custom-designed array of 7 beamforming tweeters, each with its own amplifier, which creates tremendous directional control. The Apple HomePod definitely feels well built. It's pretty heavy and very solid. Now in this case, the cord is also affixed to the base and it's fabric wrapped. Now some writers have made a big deal out of the fact that the cord isn't removable, but in my experience, once this device is set up in your home, it never moves, and there's really no need to remove and reattach the power cord from the HomePod. The HomePod has touch controls built into the top of the device, and they're very responsive and don't require multiple touches. There is no denying the quality of the HomePod. It sounds fantastic. The bass is solid and there's no hint of distortion. The cymbals and the snare come through crisply with no buzz, and even the high end isn't tinny or raspy. Overall, the sound quality is definitely outstanding, and the volume levels too are really powerful. You can crank this baby to an unbearable level and still have room to turn it up. So what can you do with HomePod? It'll perform a variety of tasks. You can say things like, "Hey Siri, play some music," and you can ask for music by artist or genre. You can also have Siri read your iMessages, but she can't handle emails for some reason.
I can't help with emails here. Sorry about that.
You can also ask for weather information and to have Siri do calculations, set timers, and more.
In Spanish, thank you is gracias.
It's here I'll say what Siri can do, she does admirably. But Siri as a digital assistant is vastly inferior, in my opinion, to both Google and Amazon's virtual helpers. If you ask Siri a question, more often than not, she hands you a website by way of answer, where the Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa will both skip the searching for you and just deliver the info. So I did a little experiment with Siri. "Hey Siri, can I change your voice?"
I can't change my voice. You can do it yourself in settings.
She's answering on the phone. So this is actually an interesting thing, is that very occasionally, and definitely not the norm for all of my testing, the phone would take over from the HomePod and answer on the phone instead. I noticed that with Google Home and Amazon's Echo devices, those devices took over for any other Android thing or any other Google Assistant or Alexa Assistant device that was in the room. That was pretty much the norm. I have noticed, though, that a few times when I ask for something of the HomePod, I get the answer instead on my phone, which I guess is great, but not really what I was going for. Okay, let's try that one again. "Hey Siri, can I change your voice?"
Sorry, I can't help you with that. You can change it in the Home app associated with this HomePod.
So as you can see, you can't change the voice on the HomePod itself, but I'm supposed to be able to do it on the Home app. But in the app, I couldn't find anything to adjust it. That's in the Apple Home app or HomeKit. So instead, I went into my iPhone X settings menu where I've previously been able to change the voice. And you can find that under Settings, Siri, and then Siri Voice. And inside there, you can change the voice from male to female and choose an American, British, or an Aussie accent. Now, when I changed it on the phone, fortunately, it changed it immediately on the HomePod. So you might get some slightly misguided instructions from the HomePod itself, but trust me, the voice is configurable.
If you want to use Spotify, you can, but there are some limitations right now. You can't just ask Siri to play music from Spotify, but you can AirPlay Spotify from your phone, then select the HomePod as the output speaker. Then you can ask Siri to skip tracks or adjust the volume, but you're not going to get true full voice control, at least not yet.
As I was getting things set up for this video and moving my set pieces around here, I guess I noticed something when I moved the HomePod, and that's that. So this is the dreaded white ring that people have been talking about online, that when you set the HomePod onto wood furniture in particular, it leaves this white ring and it doesn't easily come off. So it actually almost looks like it's been bleached or burnt.
Initially, I was so ticked about that white ring, and Apple's had enough issues with this that there's actually a whole page on their website devoted to what to do about it. I'm happy to say, though, that while the ring looked permanent, it disappeared completely on its own after about 3 days. Apple also suggests a damp cloth or some appropriate furniture cleaner might work if you want it done faster. So it turns out the white ring thing is actually not a big deal.
All right, let's address the price issue. Apple HomePod is expensive, and it's the most expensive of the 3 major smart home speaker digital assistant packages. It's easily more than twice the price of its nearest competitor, and for the budget conscious, it's completely out of reach. The Apple HomePod sells for about $449 Canadian. The Google Home, the regular size one, sells for about $179. Google Home Max, by comparison, which is the much larger one, is $499 Canadian, and the Amazon Echo Plus, which is the larger version of the Amazon Echo line, sells for about $199. As an Apple user, I have very few complaints about the HomePod. While there are some things it's not great at, there's plenty of stuff that it is. My chief complaints around the HomePod have to do with Siri's lack of abilities as a smart digital assistant, which is a pretty widely documented complaint among Apple users. The sound quality of the speaker, though, is outstanding. It looks great and it integrates seamlessly into my Apple household. The setup couldn't have been simpler, and it also controls all of my HomeKit devices too. If I have another complaint, it's the price. At $449, it's not an insignificant investment. But overall, if you're all about Apple and you want to keep all your devices integrated, you probably will not be sorry about getting a HomePod. If you're straddling the Apple and Android worlds, or your household is, you may experience some frustrations from the things that it won't do. If you want to read more about the Apple HomePod, there's a full blog online at techgadgetscanada.com. Please head over there and check it out. Post any questions or comments you have either there or, of course, here on the YouTube channel. And if you liked this video and found it helpful, please hit that like button and consider subscribing, since it does help me keep making more videos that I hope you all can watch and enjoy. I'm Erin. Find me on Twitter or Instagram until the next video. I'm at ErinLYYC.